Hello everybody, Mr. O here, and today I'm going to answer the question about the difference between acrylic paint varnish and acrylic paint medium, which means I am finally starting to move into the basics of painting of acrylics and oil. They do cross over a little bit, so some of what I say for acrylics will work for oils, while some things I say for oils will not work for acrylics. With that said, let me tell you about the mess that happened yesterday. So as I was painting, making some examples, I had painted a couple pictures for a student who made a request of me. Now take a look at this one. This is just a smeary mess now. And what I did is I painted with those acrylic paint pens on this one. This one I just brushed out, and then I put a semi-gloss, a satin finish on top of this, and I was going to put a matte finish on top of this. And the difference between the two is I used paint pens on this one. I just wanted to try out the paint pens, and of course they were on clearance. They were a brand I did not recognize, and I used two different kinds of paint pen. A high quality black one, which is what I've used in the past. I've never had any issues. But the color paint pens started smearing when I put the varnish on. And so I had to dab it off, and now I'm gonna have to go back in and touch up, and I'm gonna use my regular paints to do that. No big deal. Accidents happen, and we learn from them, and that's a lot with art. We worry about what things look like and how they come out, but are you learning from them? And so when dealing with paint pens, be careful. Now I'm going to just show you, like I said, this is satin, and this was tube paint that I used there. But I have a student project here, a beautiful, beautiful project. And before I show you my examples, I wanted you to take a look at the blue. And this is mostly, in school, especially middle school, we use a liquid-based paint. And we have liquid base, we have tube base. The consistency is different between the bottle and the tube, and so are some of the results. And depending on what brands you're talking about, you can get different kind of results and different kind of quality. And I'll make a video explaining, the difference between the $5 paint, cobalt blue, and spending $30 for a tube of cobalt paint. But for right now, I just want to point out to you, look how the blue is very matte. It's a matte, it's not shiny. As you can see here, I'm hoping that when I move it in the light, you can get some light reflection. And she was disappointed in that. She didn't know why that was going on. And some people, matte is very big right now. So if I even put a matte medium on, it would, enhance that without making it too shiny. Now, I did put a matte varnish on, and I put a gloss varnish on, and you can see the difference between the two when I try to catch the reflection in the light. And I don't know on camera, hopefully it's catching something. There's nothing up here, and so this is matte and this is gloss. And now for this type stuff, this was a fundraising project. I'd like to use gloss because it does reflect the light, and it being painted on two sides. Now when you deal with canvases, you may not want, depending on what you're doing, you may not want it to be shining. And the difference between, I'm going to show you two varnishes. They're both by Liquitex. One's Liquitex Basics, one's their regular brand, and they're very kind of watery, very loose there. High gloss varnish and matte varnish. And varnish is basically, you can actually put varnish in at almost any time. You can mix that into your paint there, where a gloss medium, and this is probably best. It's much thicker than varnish is. And I even have a blick, as you can see. Here's very loose there. But medium's usually a little thicker. That's why when you get this medium varnish, you'll notice that it's a little bit thicker, not as watery, but still very easy to pour out. And that will be the one I'm using just for a quick example. The other thing is, and mats, they're great on, putting and protecting, almost waterproofing your painting. Now, I have found in my research that varnishes do better with UV lights. So if this is something that's going to have a lot of direct sunlight, and sometimes you don't know where it's going, you just decide what's easier for you to paint on. I go back and forth between matte and gloss. I actually don't care if it's a medium or a varnish. It's just, what am I looking to protect my paintings and stuff like that. The other thing that I've done is I went to a Blick outlet store and I found a classroom set of large paint brushes, and you can see that I took a knife and I chipped away and I put glaze, or I should put medium, and basically just to tell me these are the ones I'm only using to do that, because when you paint this on with a brush, it's kind of like a glue, especially when it dries. So my recommendation is don't just stick them into your acrylic jar and clean them later. Clean them right away, or you will find a lot of the bristles are glued together and it's really hard to make them undone. And I in my personal collection, I have probably like 5 brushes like this, and then I buy very expensive house painting brushes for large paintings and stuff, so I can get us nice smooth strokes. If you buy the cheap brushes and use the cheap brushes, you will have a lot of hairs glued in. Even with this, I pay attention to make sure if any break off, and you're going to have that. I mean, it's just, how much of it are you going to worry about that? I wouldn't make it the end of the world. Now, this is probably not the best way of doing this, but it's not the end of the world. I don't usually pour it straight on, but since this is made of wood, I thought it'd be just easier for you to see. And I usually, no matter what I'm doing, is I go with the strokes. And something this small, I actually use this brush. I just try, and then I want to make sure, this is important, if you let this dry like this, you will get a big ripple. It's very important to brush everything down. And a little bit of medium or varnish goes a long way. And notice that I'm going one direction. I'm not really going back and forth. I'm trying to watch the edges here. And just because I cross there doesn't mean I just don't go back. And when it dries, it'll dry nice and even once you have it spread. The mistake I see on some paintings is they allow the varnish or the medium to clump up. Okay? I know I didn't give you a lot of information. Painting is very in-depth. So I hope this just gives you the very basics of using, varnish or medium. And then there is an acrylic spray. I do have a can for myself where like something like this would have been better with an acrylic spray. I try to avoid the acrylic spray just because it's an aerosol as much as I can. But, some things you cannot avoid, and you need that. So it's always good to have that. And then, like I said, these are something, they're not cheap. You pay $14 for a small little bottle like this. Be patient, use a coupon, and don't wait till you need it before you try to purchase it, because you never know when those things are on sale. And so guys, you have a beautiful day, and we'll see you next video. Bye-bye.